Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And it's just like Christmas morning, Luke, except evening for us because, yeah, unfortunately, like we always complain about, we have day jobs. So, unlike some of our friends who, may have done live streams or have gotten their videos out going over the glorious new Terrifier 3 trailer, you had to wait for us. But we always save the best for last, as they say. So, I honestly am very impressed. Just coming right out and saying it. I didn't expect a whole lot. I know the last trailer we saw was one of those ones where it's a teaser, so they're not giving much. But with how close we are to this film's release already, I mean, it's sneaking up on us as we speak. I was really sitting here thinking, I don't think they're going to really give us a too deep of a trailer when they finally drop one. Luke, where was your head at?
I didn't really know what to expect. When we did the teaser trailer reaction, I think a lot of people, I had seen initially, hey, it's a trailer drop. And then it was like, and then we started seeing teaser trickle in. And I think people were expecting a little bit more. By the time we got to it, we were like, okay, we knew what to kind of expect in terms of that teaser. So this one, obviously, the Terrifier audience is already built in. So you don't really need to sell anyone too much on anything here. Now, did I think we were going to get like a 2+ minute trailer drop? No, I thought maybe we get a minute and a half of just kind of maybe some random greatest, most intriguing bits, I guess, without really any payoffs here. But I didn't think we were going to this without telling us too much in this trailer. They really do cover a lot. So I wasn't expecting this much content, maybe an extended scene, something like that, but not, so many glimpses into what we're getting with Terrifier 3.
Absolutely, man. I mean, this was definitely chock full of surprises, and we are about to go through all of them. So, of course, due to how YouTube is and what we can and cannot show, we are obviously not going to be able to watch the trailer with you guys here. So we're just going to be hoping that you've seen the trailer. Obviously, it's 2 minutes, 32 seconds. Just watch it. It's so worth it. But we're going to dive in and start talking about this. Luke, what are some of those sequences just off the top of your head that really stood out to you in this trailer before we start theorizing and getting into story bits?
Oh my gosh, you even have to ask my love for holiday horror. Sometimes we covered a lot of stuff on the channel at the end of last year that was technically holiday horror, but they had a couple of Christmas lights up, and that was pretty much the extent of kind of getting that feel of holiday horror. Now, this thing, like you said, 2 minutes, 32 seconds, and I've already gotten a huge feel of that holiday horror. They've, showing the lights, they really went all out on this one and making you really feel that kind of Christmas season. So I'm really excited about that. And then, of course, we get that little drop of it's been 5 years since of the anniversary, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're getting a pretty decent time jump here. And then, of course, I think people have mentioned it, maybe a nod to Black Christmas, so to speak, with art up in the I guess it's an attic, I'm not sure, but covered in the cobwebs, which we've seen some glimpses of the stills, and everyone just raved about how intriguing that was. And, of course, the ending there. So there's a lot of intriguing bits in here. Really captivated me again, just for this 2 minute plus trailer.
Can I say something about that opening too, since it's right out in front? I think that might be towards the end of the film. Am I crazy for thinking that? Because it's the only time that we see Art the Clown, aside from the scenes in the asylum, not in Santa Claus gear and everything. Even when he's like kind of dressed down when he's attacking Sienna towards the end of the trailer, he's still wearing a Santa Claus hat, and he looks fresh and clean. And you get that face, that shot. I have it pulled up right here of him just looking a lot sharper. I don't know. It's so like weird for me to say, but like the makeup looks more demonic in a sense. Like it was one of my favorite shots from the teaser where he's got the cobwebs on him. The thing I noticed on the ground, and obviously, these could have flown in at any time, but there's a bunch of like fall leaves and stuff on the ground inside there. So I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of the end of the movie. No matter what happens, is he's just been sitting up in this attic, and then somebody right around Halloween the following year, or whenever the next one's going to take place, kind of stumbles in and finds him, and maybe that'll be like our kind of ending stinger. I don't know.
And I was curious. I guess my head went maybe into a different place because you're speaking of when he's sitting up there in what looks like an attic and
Hmm.
with the cobwebs. My head went in a little different place because obviously we're getting these bits with we see Chris Jericho. We see some asylum bits in there, headless art walking around. So I figured maybe we were going to open up right there where we left off with Terrifier 2. And
Hmm.
then, hey, it's been 5 years. I don't know. Maybe we get a little Michael Myers tribute. He's been catatonic for 5 years, collecting cobwebs. Maybe he's in Sienna's attic the whole time. Who the hell knows? But, just kind of not doing anything. And then something triggers him to go. And then we're in. Because, like you're saying, fall leaves. Maybe he went up there after those events or wherever he is, which the leaves came in with him. And now by the time he comes back out, it's 5 years later. And hey, it's Christmas time. So my head maybe went a little different spot of maybe this is closer to this is why we're having this time jump. He's just been kind of laying low, maybe regenerating of sorts. I don't know. But just because we do get that kind of, I figure we're going to open up in the asylum just because we're seeing Chris Jericho fight the big one, possibly, I'm guessing, and then we're seeing
I would
most of it.
assume so. Yeah, but you never know. I think like a big celebrity cameo like that, having him get absolutely demolished by Art the Clown, like I think that's definitely something that a lot of people would love to see. But I see you there. I definitely get it. Like if you're saying that this is like right at the start of where we're taking place, like maybe he has been kind of catatonic. I like that idea as well. And then I think like one of the things that really stuck out to me, I'm kind of coming through this here, just trying to find it just so I can verify. But one of the things that really stuck out for me with this trailer specifically is when we get into the asylum stuff, is just like, is that could that potentially be kind of retconning? I know our buddy Killjoy Jake brought this up in his live stream he did earlier, and it's been kind of in my head the whole time. Is there a chance that the ending of Terrifier 2 isn't directly after the events of Terrifier 2, and maybe it's going to open up and say that it was 5 years later, and now those events of art being birthed? Or is it going to open with him obviously in the asylum being birthed, walking out, getting on that one of my favorite shots in the trailer of him on the bus? Like I absolutely love that. I thought that was such a funny and very twisted and comedic moment. And my head's just kind of all over the place on where this can start, because when you say 5 years, a lot can happen in those 5 years, and I'm just very curious to see where this story is going to start and where we're going to end up by the end of it.
Yeah, because I'm curious now. I haven't watched Terrifier 2 since we went to see it in the theater, so it's been a few months since I've actually went back and watched it. Now, I can't think. Do they say, are we just assuming that when we're in the asylum at the end there, that it's just right after the events? They don't really actually give us a timestamp,
They don't give us any kind of a
that could have
timestamp.
been a jump already. That could have been 4 years. That could have been whatever. And we could have already been, Sienna's kind of living her life or something. So yeah, that's an intriguing concept because I don't think they actually mention that, kind of give us a definitive timeline. So, that could have been 4 years or something like that. So
exactly. So it's like, we don't know what the timeline is from Art the Clown's head being birthed, which I absolutely fucking love that shot in this trailer, dude. Like seeing him with like, it looks like almost an umbilical cord. I don't know if it's maybe a spinal cord, but it's like he's got an umbilical cord at the bottom of his neck there, at the base of his neck. It's so gross and gruesome. But I gotta say, dude, like the effects in this one, you can tell that they went from a $250,000 budget on Terrifier 2, which looks fantastic. We've said nothing but great things about not only the effects in that film, but just the presentation as a whole. There is even more than the teaser. You can tell that there has been a shift in just what they've brought to the table as far as just how they're shooting, what they're able to do. I mean, that head looks seamless. That looks better than some of the stuff you see in these $250 million films when it comes to having someone's severed CGI faced kind of head on the ground. It just looks amazing.
You know, and everyone knew we were going to gush about this thing for
Yeah.
however duration of this reaction. But, you know, and just the voice here that we see, you know, you're talking about that budget increase. And sometimes you lose that voice of what you get from, hey, the minuscule budget of Terrifier. And then, yeah, we got a bigger budget in Terrifier 2, but still small. And now Terrifier 3, you definitely feel with effects and everything they're able to accomplish just in this 2-minute trailer here of what they can do. And sometimes that presentation is like too many choices. What we have no kind of parameters anymore. But you can say Damien Leone and his team here, they're keeping that voice. This feels in line with everything that we've seen, feels on brand with it. It gets you excited. I'm gonna go back and check out Terrifier 2. Certainly. I know I said I was never gonna revisit Terrifier because I was not a huge fan of it, but I gotta be honest, the ultra violent score in this one has me intrigued to go back and watch that first one. So, you know, I was so intrigued by maintaining that voice here and what we're going to get. I was already excited for Terrifier 3. Come on. We are all excited for Terrifier 3. But getting this trailer and the taste of what they're bringing has me that much more excited. I cannot wait for October.
Luke, you knew damn well that we are working on a small series of videos going over all of the Terrifier timeline and just what the effect it's had. So you knew you were going to be watching Terrifier again. And you know, I mean, it's one of those things too, where yeah, 2 has made me appreciate that first film even more. And I think that 3 has a chance to make me appreciate it even more. Cause again, it is just a proof of concept film. But when the follow-ups are this good, and I mean, I know this is a trailer and we're like fanboying out, so people will give us shit in the comments for saying, oh, it's just a preview, how can you say it's this good? But like, the quality on screen here in just these 2 minutes 30 seconds is like better than most of the studio horror films we have seen over the last few years that involve a slasher. Like, yes, we have our gems when it comes to slashers, like In a Violent Nature. You know, some love it, some hate it. We enjoyed it quite a bit. But like, when you're talking about, like, you know, our Texas Chainsaws, our Halloweens, you know, God, there hasn't been a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street in decades. So it's like, when you're talking about slasher films, like on that level of just Halloween, Art the Clown is really getting close to that, if not already there, of being iconic. So it's like, this is the most high quality, like, looking, and most like, this feels right. Everything here feels like it's hitting all the buttons I wanted to hit that we've had in like a mainstay slasher in so long.
Yes. You know, there was just this groundswell, I think, after Terrifier 2 that we certainly noticed. I know there was a huge fan base after the original Terrifier going into the sequel there, but, you know, after Terrifier 2, in terms of bleeding into a general audience, I mean, I've been to Spirit Halloween a handful of times already, and it's only the end of August, and everyone's clamoring for Art the Clown merchandise. I've only seen a couple things there, and I don't know if it's been stocked and people have already ripped it off the shelves, or, you know, they just haven't gotten around to putting out all Art the Clown stuff. But there is a section now. We talked about Sam and Trick or Treat, you know, and that popping up and actually seeing that merchandise, and now Art the Clown. And this is a very short turnaround. We've only recently started seeing stuff from like Trick or Treat pop up in the mainstream. Terrifier has only been around for a few years, and, you know, now Art the Clown is this kind of mainstay in terms of slashers, has the most longevity, you know, and gas in the tank, I would say, to keep going with the Terrifier franchise, or, you know, creating an offshoot, you know, sort of story with Art the Clown as, you know, its main antagonist, would be rather intriguing. So there is so much potential in this character, in this storytelling, and, you know, it doesn't feel like just, hey, marketing, we're throwing this around Christmas time. This really does feel like it has its own voice. It has a story to tell, and Christmas is actually probably going to play a pivotal role in the storytelling here.
Absolutely. I know that it's kind of been the gimmick of like, let's put Art the Clown in all the holidays. It's like, this only makes sense because horror, it's like, yes, it's synonymous with Halloween, but like, the next biggest holiday for horror arguably is Christmas. So it's like, it only makes sense that Damien Leone would want to take his creation and put him in a holiday setting. Now, Before we keep going on a tangent here, like I said, we're going to be diving deep into the Terrifier roots and talking about all of Damien's, inspirations and things over the years. Let's talk about some of these money shots here before this video gets way too long. Obviously, I think one of my favorites, one of the shots we have to talk about. Obviously, you see the couple. I believe it's Mia, and I'm not 100% sure what her boyfriend's name is. I think it might be Cole. Is the gentleman here if I'm looking on IMDb. But they are fooling around in the shower. You get a nice wide. Again, just talking about just like the budget increase. Like you can tell they're using it to such effect. Like I don't know why, but that shot of their silhouettes of their naked bodies, just like fawning all over each other and whatnot in there. I was just looking like at that. Everybody's looking at it. It's like, yeah, it looks pretty good. Oh, boo boo. I'm looking at the color scheme. I'm looking at those yellows and everything, and I'm just like, it's so shining. It's so good. But yeah, we get a little bit more of a tease. We got a lot more in the teaser for this, but we get a little bit more different shots of that shower scene massacre. And boy, howdy, that shit looks fucking intense. He busts in there with a chainsaw. Like, we don't see him cut any flesh, but dear God, like, that is going to be a scene for sure.
And it's, crafty editing, because obviously Terrifier is going to bring that gore, so they're waiting for us to be in the theater to really see what Art's going to do there, and that scene has me so excited. There have been rumblings about what that was going to be. I think even before that had come out, was it Damien Leone who posted something about a shower scene before we had even gotten the teaser? So people were kind of speculating on what that was going to be, and this one more than pays off from what we've gotten already. He's got the glasses on, he's got the Santa outfit on, he's got the chainsaw going. I'm excited to see that full extended scene there and what we're gonna get, because after Terrifier 2 and the gore that we got there, I can only imagine what this one's going to look like at the end of the scene. And you're right, production wise, this thing is just absolutely on point, and it's one of those things that's so reminiscent of the 80s, and I love that Damien Leone and the Terrifier team kind of understand that. I think, where you have these gratuitous sex scenes and stuff like that, obviously you don't need them, and I'm not saying you need them in every sort of slasher. I think a lot of slashers have gotten away from that. I love that they kind of inject that flavor of the 80s in terms of the storytelling and the scenes, and what they're able to do here. You can really tell that this is, while it's ultra violent, ultra gory for the modern audiences right now, this is very much feels like a love letter to a lot of those 80s slashers that we've seen as well.
100%. Yeah, I think that whole thing is nothing but, again, an homage to some of our favorites. I don't know if you caught it. There's a quick shot, and I'll show it right here, because we keep mentioning Shining when it comes to that sequence and just the color grading and everything. Again, if you go back to that teaser, it looks very Shining-esque. But when you see this one, like, there's literally a direct call out where when Art is chopping down that door going after Sienna, if you pause it just right, you see his face in the broken wood. I'm like, brother, you are acing it right now. And that's the kind of stuff that I love, is like when you have little references like that aren't, like ruining anything. They're not just like being like all in your face. Like, you just have to kind of catch it. And moving forward, I do think we have to discuss probably the next big elephant in the room, as far as just like shots and things that are getting people in the Terrifier space talking. And it's gotta be this this blacksmith character of some sort. Like, what is that, Luke? Do you have any like ideas or anything like that? I hear a lot of people saying that it's reminiscent of Leone's first short film, The Ninth Circle. So it could be a character from that, kind of bringing everything full circle. Do you have any inklings of what they might be trying to say with that?
I haven't seen The Ninth Circle. I've seen that mentioned a few times. I'm going to have to watch it. I wouldn't surprise me to see Damien Leone kind of playing in a giant playground with all these characters, and they all intertwine in some fashion. I think this... I don't know necessarily if there's going to be a big significance, at least in Terrifier 3, in terms of an explanation or anything. I could see this being some sort of vision that Sienna has. I know she
definitely
mentions,
a dream sequence of some sort. Yeah,
because I don't know if this is going to be anything that's. It could just be, for me, I think maybe just secluded to this scene where it's like kind of if we're gonna go Terrifier 4, we're gonna leave something open, and we're not gonna get too much explanation. I've seen a lot of people throw around that this could be her father making the sword or something. I've seen a lot of people mentioning that. I don't know necessarily if I'd go that route. I think this could be something that I think this is going to be something when we walk out of the theater, we're still going to have questions about. I think this might be something that we're just opening the door toward, and we're not going to get any closure here because, as I think Sienna's talking about having to go back and get the sword. So,
Yeah.
I think this could just be some sort of vision, some sort of dream sequence of her, what could be in the Terrifier now after that. All the hijinks ensued at the end of Terrifier 2. What's that going to look like going back in her hesitation too?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think like there's been rumblings that that could be even if it's not her father specifically. I haven't heard that one, but I've heard just that those are like demons like assembling the sword, because we know she got the sword from her dad. And so if her dad is tied in, like everybody's theorizing with Art the Clown and how all this works and stuff, who's to say that she's not seeing a vision from the past, like way back in the day when that sword was being forged, and like somehow he got it and there's some significance to it? Because obviously we saw it put Art the Clown down for, at least a good little while. He did end up being rebirthed by Victoria, but you know what I mean? Like he was down for the count for a minute there. So it obviously has some effect. And yeah, I was curious. I wanted to bring that up as another piece to this was, so you think it's the sword as well that they're calling back to and saying that they're going to, go back to the Terrifier 4. I've also thought, could they be going to check and see, because she's talking about how she saw him, saw Art and everything, and Jonathan doesn't believe her. And so it's like, could they be saying they're going back to find the body to make sure that he's gone?
I don't know. I like the way that it's cut. Obviously, is going to make you believe it's the sword. So that was just my assumption with the voiceover that we do get, that it was the sword. Now I don't know exactly what the placement could be. As we were just talking about it, like you were saying, this could be, maybe it's an image from the past that something's happened. Now we don't know. I guess I've never asked myself this question. Art the Clown, I'm assuming, is some sort of demon. We don't know exactly his his roots or anything like that. His form is a clown, but is that his actual form? Could this be something of, could that be Art the Clown himself? Did he make the sword for some fashion and has come back, and that's why it's his weakness? I don't know.
He's got the teeth. He definitely, whatever, because they all have those really sharp, pointy ass teeth. So it's got that. We know that.
Yeah. So I mean, could that be something where I think we're still gonna have questions. I think this is a character that's playing more so the long game. I don't think this is just gonna be some offshoot, just some random scene. I think maybe Terrifier 4, we could get more explanation, but I think certainly as we leave the theater seeing this one, we may have a handful more questions that could be posed after seeing this one.
100%. And, I kind of long for that. I really don't want us to get all the answers out of this film. I'm really worried that we're going to get more than I even want, because for some reason, Terrifier 2 was a film that was all set up. It was really just setting up and posing questions. We hardly, if anything, gets answered. And it's still just this wild ride that I absolutely adore going back and revisiting. It's one of my favorite slashers of all time now, for sure. And like, it's one of those things where for me, I don't know if I want the ride to end. I'm kind of like, okay, answer maybe a couple, but maybe like the big ones, like their dad, just give us a couple pieces. Don't give us everything. Let's keep the train going here, because again, it's just so exciting to have a modern day slasher icon that actually is delivering like Art the Clown is. And again, you're talking about, this is two people who did not like the first film. We were very adamant that the first film kind of sucked. We walked into Terrifier 2 only to see it because of this channel. We were like, well, it's a small movie, it'll get clicks. And we walked out bona fide Terrifier fans. Like, that's why this franchise has just blown us away and what has brought us on board. I think one of the only other pieces that we can really discuss here, and we'll have to do more analyzing, more talking. We'll obviously be touching base with some of our friends like Rockland Graves and of course Jake over at Killjoy Jake. We'll have to talk with them and see what they think. But one of the last pieces that was kind of a surprise here is we got to see Brooke again. Obviously, I think some kind of an apparition or a dream of some sort. just because she is mangled just as she was left in the Terrifier at the end of 2. But I think that it's great. Again, Damien has a way of killing people in his movies, but not really killing them. They're always coming back in their like amalgam ripped up form that they were left in. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's just great to see because again, it feels like a love letter to the 80s because you watch some of the greatest slasher films from the 80s and they kill off great characters, memorable characters, and then you're in the sequel and you're like, I wish we had at least an appearance or a reason to bring any sort of character back. So I love that, we're still paying tribute. We're still seeing things from the past that are reminiscent. I'm assuming some sort of apparition or just like you said. It's the only thing I could really think of. But I absolutely love those undertones here. And looking at this film, that second one, yes, posed a lot of questions, but also oddly enough had some closure to it where I was so satisfied with that film. And I can't place my finger if, I knew that them opening up doors and asking so many questions that we were going to get a third. So I was just maybe excited about that ride. Mm-hmm. But, looking at this one, this is something where I know I'm going to have some sort of closure, but hey, I'm all here for Terrifier 4 as well.
Absolutely. As long as whatever doors you close, open a few more, please. Like, just keep it going. Like, we'll let you know probably by Terrifier 5 if we're like, okay, now it's time to slow this puppy down and get us to a crescendo. But man, I was impressed. I was very, very impressed by this trailer. I knew I was going to geek about it. I knew it was going to be good. But even the ones that like we've geeked about and we've talked about in the past, like Alien Romulus and, obviously Evil Dead Rise was one that we were geeking out about when that came out. This is oddly one of the most satisfying trailers that I've seen in a long time. Because again, I don't know anything that's going on with the story other than the little tiny pieces, and that's it. They didn't tell me the whole movie. They didn't sit there and say, hey guys, here's plot point A, B, C, and there you go. If you want to see it, pay for your ticket. If not, you just saw the whole thing. They are just doing the Lord's work. And I can say that too because the synopsis as well that they released is very simple. I commented on it last night on Twitter when I was talking to some of our buddies on there. And I just said it's perfect. It's simple. It just answers some of the lingering questions we've had of like, okay, this is the setup and that's it. It just tells you, yep, Terrifier 3 is coming. And that's all we need.
Absolutely. Like I said, the fan base is built in and we're a part of that fan base. We've been anticipating this since walking out of theater for Terrifier 2. And, no one would have called the complexity in this story watching the original and then going into that second one and then what they started introducing. So I'm excited to see the expansion on here. Like we said, the budget feels bigger, but that voice is still here. So it's like we're going to get that Damien, Leone, and Terrifier team flavor that we've gotten in the past installments. Man, this one has me excited. They covered so many bases in that 2+ minute trailer. And, with some jump scares, with some questions that we're posing that we're trying to connect some dots that may not even exist. Who knows? We'll find out when we get into the theater. But man, they made you feel a range of emotions in just 2 minutes. I can't imagine what they're going to do with 2 hours.
100%, man. But alrighty, guys, there you have it. We're going to pass it off to you in the comments. Let us know, what are your theories and speculations for Terrifier 3 after seeing this trailer? Again, we're going to be watching this probably 100 more times. And maybe if we feel like we have some pieces still lingering in our brain, we could potentially be back. I know we're already discussing some videos going over the franchise, as well as some future collaborations just before this one comes out. So maybe we'll discuss some more theories, some more ideas, and of course, the future of the Terrifier franchise. And of course, when this thing hits in October, you're going to have all kinds of videos, spoilers, collabs. I mean, the whole 9 yards. We're going to Terrifier it out this year on Splatterthon for sure. And yeah, it's going to be a hell of an October, and I cannot wait. So yeah, that's going to wrap us up here. We got a lot of great stuff up on the channel, lots of new reviews and more to come. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live, cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast,